Hello, and thanks for watching BSGcast. He's Matt, I'm Nat, and let's get started.
So this week's episode is Dirty Hands.
Dirty, dirty hands.
And it's a great name because, I mean, you've got the obvious meaning of the workers who are in terrible conditions.
Like,
and
quite literally, dirty hands.
They're just filthy all the time.
Right.
And then you've got the idea that on a higher level, the show is about bigotry and that everyone's guilty of it and no one's hands are clean.
Exactly.
So, good name and good writing in this episode. It was written by Jane Espenson.
Who's pretty awesome. If you guys don't know already, she's done a lot of Joss Whedon's projects, like Firefly.
Angel, Buffy, pretty much
exactly.
everything.
Strong writing, strong storytelling there.
Definitely.
So.
And it feels like this episode kind of gets us out of a funk. I mean, this is the woman who brought us The Passage, where Kat died. And it was a good episode, and this one does not disappoint because, you know, there were a few people on the boards and the forums not super happy with the last few.
We're pretty disappointed with the last couple of stories that were pretty much day in the life of type of focus on
smaller,
characters
personal.
And smaller side stories.
But yeah, this feels like we're kind of out of the funk the same way the end of season 2 happened.
Right.
There was kind of that slow patch, and then whoop, off it went. And I think we're about to get the off it went part now for season 3.
Exactly. Chief.
Yes, of course. One of the main characters was Chief Tyrell in this episode. So that's 2 Tyrell heavy episodes in a row. Which, you know, I've got no problem with that at all.
Not at all. He's a really interesting character.
Absolutely.
Very interesting, very solid.
And I love Aaron Douglas. That guy's awesome.
He's
really,
cool.
really great performance from him all the time. So, didn't disappoint here.
Got a cool history.
Yeah.
He's interesting. He's an interesting character because you know that he's like one of those Adama characters in the sense that he knows what's right.
Yes.
You can tell.
He's got
a
a
really
strong
moral
moral
person.
compass. Absolutely.
He might not always have the strength necessarily, and he has Callie poking him. But, you know.
Some people like Callie. I know you don't, but some people like Callie.
Personal preference.
Stiff Jimmy's a big fan of Callie. He's always defending her on the board. So
I know.
You and he should talk.
That's cool.
You and he should
totally
talk.
Cool. I'm just saying.
Now, it's good to see the New Caprica Union Man story going, because we know at this point that the Chief is a good Union boy at heart.
Yeah.
He'd make a good Irishman. And he basically it's an extension of that, because back on New Caprica, he was no longer a military officer. He had, as we established, asked Adama for leave.
Exactly.
And he went down, and he was just a guy working a job.
A dude, yeah.
And that's why he was running a union. But, you know, back on Galactica, he's now a non-commissioned officer.
He's back into his role as the military dude. He works for the military, and
there are no unions in the military. You do what you're told.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting to see. Now, I guess because Tyrell was the guy that captured him, Tyrell was the guy who got to see Baltar in this episode. And as usual, Baltar was amazing. He was absolutely great. From jail,
yeah,
his
performance was amazing.
He still resonates power over the people, even from jail. But the thing I've got to wonder is he actually from Erlon? I mean, he could be making this all up.
Yeah.
Better yet, if he's a Cylon, it doesn't even matter, because he's probably only a few years old anyway. And
it's all programmed
into him. He thinks he was born on Erlon in, you know, what was it called? Cuddleham Wash or something? It's such a British sounding place to be from. But yeah, it was a great performance. And his idea of the fleet being divided into 2 classes was very interesting.
Yeah,
and the first class we got to see was the Underclass. Now, the Underclass we're pretty familiar with at this point through Tyrell.
Yeah.
Because really, he's not in the ruling class as Baltar split them up. He's just a knuckle dragger.
Yeah.
And it was good in this episode to see another ship in the fleet that is the Underclass, essentially.
For sure.
This Tillium refinery was very interesting. Now, that's an expensive thing to do. A lot of people complain that, we don't get to see new ships often enough. Well, you know what? That costs a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And they pulled this one off, and I'm really impressed. Yeah. And the music was cool.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to get on. The music was pretty cool. Very Firefly Serenity reminiscent.
Yes,
right?
it was like some dirty slide guitar.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Really good.
I really enjoyed it. Well, we love Firefly and Serenity, so it worked out pretty well.
Yes, we've got to mention it twice so
and a little did you know, the guys who do the special effects work in Serenity do the special effects work in Galactica, so kind of cool. That brings us right around to the question that Baltar asked: will the fleet ever be commanded by someone whose name isn't Adama?
Who's next? Who's after him? Ty?
Ty doesn't want it. So after Ty, we've got what? Hilo? I don't think Hilo could do it.
Then the other natural one, if we were doing this like hierarchy thing, would be his son Apollo.
Yeah. Well,
No. Okay. Let's just cut to the chase. Clearly, Gata would be the best one.
Gata should run the fleet.
He really should. Like, Hilo doesn't really seem to be the leader kind of type.
Gata's got the brains.
Gata's got the brains. And he knows the military inside out.
And he knows the politics.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, he could be the Führer. He could essentially run both sides of
Admiral Gata.
Admiral President Gata. That would be perfect. Which brings us around to the Autocracy, as Baltar placed them. And you know what? It does kind of seem like an autocracy when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, what was their solution for we need more people in Attilium mines?
Conscription.
Conscription. And who doesn't get chosen for conscription? Anyone on Colonial One.
Yeah.
So, obviously, there is an upper class, an autocracy. As much as Rosalind at the end, you know, she's a union-friendly politician. We know this because of
the teachers' union thing and
during
her
Epiphanies.
education kind of thing.
When she's talking to Adar during Epiphanies, and it all comes out there. So we know she's not completely cold-hearted when it comes to unions.
Right.
But this was a situation where she took a hard line. She put a man in jail because he was standing up for, you know, working conditions.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they are on the run for their lives.
It is. They're in a time of war, and you know what? It sucks, but shit happens. I mean,
you know what? It's true.
They need to be doing their jobs.
There are certain people
they're part
who are
of that society. They're part of the limited number of humans that are left. It sucks, but.
And you know what? It's one thing to strike on the refinery, but it's another thing to bring that back to Galactica, because the military is not a democracy. You know, Adama was totally right when he said, you know, if I have to shoot Callie, I would shoot 10 Callies to make sure this ship runs. And that begs an interesting question. Do you really think he would have shot Callie? I mean, Ronald D. Moore
thinks he really, really would have. I myself, really, I don't think he would have.
I wonder what Olmos would think. I wonder what Eddie Olmos would think.
I'd be really curious to hear what he would have to say with his interpretation of his character.
Yeah,
right?
We've already established that the characters are important when they're written by the screenwriters, but the actors have a lot to say about that. This week's bonus scene is interesting. It's kind of like The Woman King, when you know, there was just basically a small edit, pulled out part of the episode, dropped it back in, makes no real impact on the narrative, not like in
the six
yes.
episodes, right, where she's in jail and she makes out with Baltar.
Yes, exactly, like a huge scene that came out of nowhere. Same thing happened with Gata and Duala. That scene just came out of nowhere. It was a whole other bonus scene that was very interesting in that way, but you know, there's two different ways they seem to be running these bonus scenes. This week it was just supplementary, nothing huge. Fan of the week.
Or should we say fans of the week?
Yes, fans of the week. We have almost 900 of them this week. It's the Colonial Defense Force. Now, these guys are incredible. They're a
hardcore.
Yes, they are a chapter-based BSG fan club, which means each chapter is a battle star. So there are admirals, there are commanders, like everyone in this has a rank and file.
Just check out the photos.
Seriously. It's amazing. It's amazing. And they've also been able to give honorary memberships to cast members. It's amazing. They've got Bamber, Olmos, Hatch. They've given all these people their honorary members. So somewhere in that almost 900 is a bunch of people who actually make the show.
Yeah. When do we become honorary members?
That's a good question. I wonder what our rank would be. But
Knuckle Dragger.
Knuckle Dragger. Definitely Knuckle Dragger.
Start from the bottom.
Now, they've even got a conference coming up in April. So if you're interested, Starfest Convention in Denver, Colorado is a place where you can see them and all kinds of people.
Sounds cool.
So that leads us to
next week's episode, Maelstrom.
Next week looks huge. Absolutely huge.
We know it's going to be good. Yeah. Like Ronald D. Moore said that.
Yeah, in his podcast, he referred to it as a rocket to the end. So we're going to have a pretty solid end of season 3, I'm sure.
It looks like it's a Starbuck heavy episode, which finally is happening since the last time. What did we find out? That she apparently has a strange sort of vision or memory implanted into her with that painting, right?
And definitely some kind of destiny. Yeah. And it looks like we're going to see some kind of closure, or at least a furthering of the storyline of Starbuck, Leoben, and her past with her mother, which is interesting because that's always been an area of contention that we've sort of been wondering about. Starbuck's history, Starbuck's past. Someone broke her fingers ritualistically when she was a child. Right. So we'll get to see a little bit about her mother.
Really interesting to see about that.
Yeah. So next week, strap it on, ladies and gentlemen, because the rocket ship is heading out.
Yes.
So here we go. It's the home stretch, guys.
Nice. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye, Matt.
Bye, Nat.
Bye.